welcome back to the Leamy News. I'm here with my grandpa, Keller. Now, Grandpa, why are you wearing a Guam shirt?
I've spent a lot of time in what we call the Blue Nations, in the Philippines, Guam, Northern Marianas, the islands out in the Pacific Ocean.
Cool.
And Guam is a U.S. territory, part of the United States.
Now, Grandpa, where were you born?
I was born in Kalispell, Montana. Very cold country. They would have temperatures 40 below zero in the wintertime.
Interesting.
Yes.
Did your grandparents or grandparents come to America from another country?
My genealogy and my family goes back to Germany and Holland, Dutch.
Now, Grandpa, what do you remember about being in 4th grade?
Well, my 4th grade experience was really kind of interesting because we had 3rd and 4th grade in the same classroom. So we had 3rd grade on one side of the room and 4th grade on the other side of the room. And we had different assignments, but we had one teacher. I don't think that happens too much today.
Bet that was a big hassle for that teacher.
She handled it very well. She controlled those students very well, and we had different assignments. And when she was working with the 4th grade, the 3rd graders were working on their assignments. That's very good.
And what did you learn in 4th grade?
Well, I think we were pretty much into the basics of writing, spelling, arithmetic, social studies, history. Those were pretty much the subjects that we studied.
What games did you play growing up?
I really liked baseball. I played Little League Baseball. And I was in the outfield, and I played with some very good players. I always wanted to play football, but never was big enough to do the football. And I was never tall enough to really play basketball. So I pretty much paid attention to baseball, but I was a very accomplished water skier. Very good on slalom ski.
Now I know where my mom gets her water skiing techniques.
Your mom was a very good water skier. I remember water skiing with your mom and your Aunt Stacy and Aunt Lindsay and Uncle Nate, all on one ski, all slalom skis.
Nice. Did you have any special chores when you were 10 years old?
Chores?
Chores.
We always worked. My dad had us work for him many times. He had several gas stations, and I started working for him when I was 8 or 9 years old, doing work around his gas stations, cleaning. And before they had credit cards, they had credit books, and we had to stamp every page with the gas station name. So I started working very young. Chores around the house, we always cut the lawn, we always did the weeding in the yard. We always had to clean our rooms, make our beds every morning before we left. So we had chores that we did. And so we worked quite a bit when I was young.
Okay. What was your favorite book or movie as a child?
Well, the movies that I remember that I really liked was The Lone Ranger, which was a good movie, and also liked, there was another cowboy called Lash LaRue. Although he wore all black, he was a good guy, and that was a fun one to watch. And then, I don't know if you've ever seen the reruns of The Little Rascals. They were young children that were always getting into mischief. But The Little Rascals was a good show that I liked to watch. And then books, pretty much the books that we used to read in school were the ones that I paid most attention to.
What were the most important rules of behavior your parents and teachers expected of you?
I would think one of the most important rules that my dad, especially because we worked for him, was to be very courteous and very friendly with customers. And with regards to teachers and other people that we came in contact with was to be very respectful. It was always Mr. and Mrs. And we were always taught to be very respectful and appropriate, not a lot of yelling and running and those kinds of things.
How are you disciplined?
Well, we didn't know anything about things like timeout. That wasn't something that we had in our growing up years.
Wish it wasn't now either.
No, you don't like timeout?
No, who does?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I remember being put in the corner, turn the chair and look into the corner so you couldn't go anyplace or look at anything. That was a punishment. But my mother would take us to the store, and they had these little toys. They were a paddle with a rubber ball attached to them with an elastic, and you hit them back and forth like this. And then she kept them after they broke. And if we did something wrong, she'd take that paddle and whack us on the fanny. Not hard, but it was a pretty good whack.
I play with those toys now, well sometimes, and I never want to break them.
Oh, well, does your mom keep them?
No, she usually throws them out.
No. Well, your grandma, she never got a spanking. She was very spoiled as a little girl. So that's how we were disciplined. And I think one of the things that I remember is if my dad didn't talk to me, that was a serious problem. And that's one of the ways he would teach us to behave.
How much was a movie?
A movie was 25 cents.
Wish it was still that now. And what was the price of an ice cream cone?
We used to get double-decker ice cream cones for 10 cents. And the ice cream was not stacked on top of each other, it was side by side. So you could have vanilla and chocolate or strawberry or something like that.
I wish they were still at prices now.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see those again.
What world events had the most impact on you as a child?
We had a rather peaceful time as a child from about the 1950s through the mid-60s. That was the period of time that I was growing up and going through elementary school and up to high school. But I think that one of the most dramatic things that I can remember as a child, not a young child, but was President Kennedy's assassination. I can tell you exactly where I was, what classroom I was in, my teacher. It was a very, very dramatic event in our lives.
Did your family have any special heirlooms?
Heirlooms?
Yeah.
Oh, my grandfather, or my dad worked for my grandfather, and my grandfather homesteaded in Montana. And homesteading means they had a big piece of ground that they worked, and that they were almost given this property if they would farm it and ranch it. So they had this huge ranch. Do you ever remember the television show The Cartwrights and Ponderosa? That was a very popular show on television, and they had a big operation, a ranching operation on Lake Tahoe. And it was a lot like that. It was a very big ranch with a lot of cattle. And the heirlooms that came from that, I think, were the most important. There was branding irons, and one that I remember were silver sleigh bells that they put on the sleighs that the horses pulled. They were very, very pretty sound.
So basically Santa took that idea and instead of horses put reindeer?
Well, I don't know. I think there was Santa Claus before that.
Probably.
But reindeer can fly, horses can't fly. That would be a big difference.
Have you ever met someone famous?
I've had the good fortune to meet famous people. I've worked for the governor of California and used to see him every week. And I also had an opportunity to meet President Bush. Well, I didn't. And I've also had the opportunity to meet people in the military.